Now let's start with the basic introduction to reported speech. All the materials are of course available to you, so you can have a look at them. Now let's study this example here. We have somebody here, and his name is Tom apparently, and he says I am feeling ill. Okay. And when we want to report what he said, what we're gonna say is Tom said that he was feeling ill. And as you can see here, I will change into he, am will change into was. Okay? That's because in reported speech we want to go one step back in time, and when we are describing what somebody else said, we want to go one step back in time and turn present tenses into past tenses and past tenses into past perfect tenses. That's what we'll normally do. Okay, so let's have a look at a few more examples here. Let's have a look at Judy. Now these are regular sentences, and on the right hand side we have sentences that are reported speech sentences. My parents are very well. Judy said that her parents were very well. See? So are turned to were. I am going to learn to drive. She said that she was going to learn to drive. John has given up his job. She said that John had given up his job. I can't come to the party on Friday. She said that she couldn't come to the party on Friday. I want to go away for a holiday, but I don't know where to go. She said that she wanted to go away for a holiday, but she didn't know where to go. I'm going away for a few days. I'll phone you when I get back. She said that she was going away for a few days and would phone me when she got back. Okay, so you can see present tenses and past tenses here. So when you report what somebody said, you want to go one step back in time. And one more important thing, you can see that this verb said. It's all these verbs. These are called reporting verbs, and they are usually in past tense. If you see a reporting verb in present tense, that means you are not going one step back in time. You do not change the verb here. But this is a very rare example, but I want you to remember about it. If this is in present tense, this is not a normal reported speech sentence, and you do not have to go one step back in time. Okay, just remember about it. It's a very rare case, but it sometimes does happen, and sometimes you can see it on some, I don't know, tests or. Let's do exercise 1. I want you to stop the video, do the exercise, and then I will tell you what the answers are. If you don't want to follow along, you can also have a look at the answer sheet. I provided you with the answer sheet, so you can have a look at it as well. All the descriptions are in the link below the video. I am living in London now. He said that he was living in London now. Okay? My father isn't very well. He said that his father wasn't very well. Sharon and Paul are getting married next month. He said that Sharon and Paul were getting married next month. Margaret has had a baby. He said that Margaret had had a baby. I don't know what Fred is doing. He said he didn't know what Fred was doing. I saw Helen at the party in June and she seemed fine. He said that he had seen Helen at the party in June and she had seemed fine. Or she seemed fine would also be okay. I haven't seen Diane recently. He said that he hadn't seen Diane recently. I'm not enjoying my job very much. He said that he wasn't enjoying his job very much. You can come and stay at my flat if you are ever in London. He said I could come and stay at his flat if I were ever in London. My car was stolen a few weeks ago. He said that his car had been stolen a few weeks before. I want to go on holiday but I can't afford it. He said that he wanted to go on holiday but couldn't afford it. I will tell Anne I saw you. He said he would tell Anne he had seen me or he saw me would also be okay. Exercise 2. I want you to stop the video and do the exercise, and then you can follow along with me. Anne is coming to the party tonight. Is she? I thought you said she wasn't coming. Anne likes Paul. Does she? I thought you said she didn't like him. I know lots of people. Do you? I thought you said you didn't know many people. I will be here next week. Will you? I thought you said you wouldn't be here next week. I'm going out. I think this week should be changed into the following week. In the answer sheet, it's not changed, but since we are applying reported speech, we could change that in next week into the following week. Okay. I have a full list of these changes that should be done to those time references in a separate handout, which we will discuss later. I'm going out this evening. Are you? I thought you said you were not going out that evening. I can speak a little French. Can you? I thought you said you didn't speak French. I haven't been to the cinema for ages. Haven't you? I tu możemy zrobić I thought you had been to the cinema recently or last week, or you have some freedom in this sentence. Okay, so now we'll move on and discuss some more complicated topic, but before we do, just remember, in most cases when you see reported speech on some tests, I want you to go one step back in time and change the tense. Now, in chapter 47, which you also have in your which you can also download, the link is below the video, it says here in point A that sometimes you do not have to go one step back in time. Let's read the examples. It's not always necessary to change the verb when you use reported speech if you report something that is still true. So they say that if something is still true, you can go one step back in time, but you don't have to. For example, Tom said New York is more lively than London. Tom said that New York is more lively than London. Tom said New York is more lively than London, and Tom said that New York is more lively than London. So here we have the verb is, and here we also have the verb is in reported speech. Because they say that the situation is still persisting, this is a situation that still hasn't changed. That means we can use the same verb and we don't have to go one step back in time. Or Anne said I want to go to New York next year. Anne said that she wants to go to New York next year. That means if she still wants to go, and this hasn't changed. But if it changed, well, then you would need to go do the back shifting and go one step back in time. They also say that you can change that tense, but you don't have to, right? So again, you sometimes in situations that haven't changed, you can go one step back in time, but there's no necessity to do so. My recommendation is that you do, because at some tests in the answer sheets there usually is this back shifting, and there usually is a sentence that goes one step back in time. So you want to go one step back in time to prove on a test that you actually know the principle, that in reported speech you want to go one step back in time. So my recommendation is that you do. Now, this is a situation where they tell us not to go one step back in time. So when do we not go one step back in time? You must use past form when there is a difference between what was said and what is really true. Study the example. Okay, so here we have me and or some person and Sonia, and she says Jim is ill. Okay, and later that day we see Jim and he is looking well and he seems fine. So I say, I didn't expect to see you, Jim. Sonia said you were ill. Not Sonia said you are ill, because clearly he is not, right? So if that person is feeling well, we want to say Sonia said you were ill, because now he isn't ill. He's up and about, and he's in high spirits, and he's healthy. So that's one of the cases where things have changed, and when we're reporting what was said, we actually need to stick to the principle that we use, but we go one step back in time. Okay, to be honest, that is a rare case. I don't see that often on tests, because you need a bigger context to actually apply this kind of principle. This can happen in a conversation, or you can hear that in a movie, but basically most of the cases are that you just go one step back in time. So this is like kind of an exception, but you need to have a context to actually know from the context that things actually have changed, and you actually need to go one step back in time for that's necessarily. This requires a context, and this also would require some more context, and so that we know that things haven't changed and we don't have to go one step back in time, but we may do it. So the takeaway message from me is that you need to know about these exceptions, but I want you to, when you see a sentence on a test and it's a reported speech sentence, you just go one step back in time, like we did here in these two examples, in these two exercises. And for now, that's it. We will go over my handout in a moment, and I will show you I will show you what's in my handout, and basically you'll have a nice repetition of all the things that we've just covered, just in a different form. So in my handout doesn't include many new things, but it rearranges all the theoretical knowledge that you have here in these exercises and in these explanations here. But I still recommend that you have a look at it. Okay, so let's move on and see what we have in the handout.